Welcome to the Transformation Table. I'm your host, Trevor Naidu. Today I'm joined by an esteemed guest, Humaira Thebe-Choonara. Humaira, welcome.
Thank you very much for the invitation and the warm welcome.
You're a mother, you're a wife, you're an author, you're a cultural expert, and you're also a CEO. For the viewers that don't know a lot about you, maybe just share with us a little bit about your background and what really were the things that shaped your life and shaped you into the leader that you are today.
I think it's a very interesting question because I come from a very small, we call it a dusty village.
Yeah.
It's called Coffee Crowd in Northwest, very small, about 6,000 people now. When I grew up, maybe the population was around 3,000. The only thing that's known about this village is that the former Mukhweng comes from that village.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm sure it's the first time you hear about Coffee Crowd.
Yes.
So my background, I think it's enriched by the fact that I grew up as a village girl where there are ethics, where there's support, community support, and where nobody sleeps hungry, you look after one another. It's communal life. My father was a soldier. He actually went to the Second World War.
Oh, wow.
So he was a go-getter, he was a brave man. And he, after retiring, he opened the first shop in the village. My grandfather was a pastor. So I grew up very spiritual because he brought us up. And when my dad retired, we started now selling in the shop. So I was an entrepreneur from very young age, selling chappies and all of that. I think for me, I always say it's the best of both worlds, where you are in a communal, social kind of life, where you give, where you support one another. But also on the other side, you're an entrepreneur, you want to make business, you want to make money. It gives me a balance in life. Yeah, so that's what shaped me. The other thing is that I became the first graduate in the village and the first one to get a master's degree. So I've always been this go-getter from a very young age. And I think I got it from my father, the fact that he went and became a soldier at the age, he worked from the age of 14 for the defense. He says he went there, he couldn't read or write. They taught him how to read and write, and he was
Wow.
a T-boy. They were sending him everywhere until he grew up and graduated into other portfolios. So he's a self-made person, and that inspired me a lot. And of course, he always gave us lectures and many stories of how he defeated even the strongest soldiers when they were ill-treating him. I'll take the whole day if I have to tell you the story of this short, small man,
Yes.
fighting or his way through to become one of the best soldiers. It's amazing. And, to me then it was like the world is an oyster, it all depends on you. Hence I wrote the book, Propelled from Inside. Yeah, it's all inside of you. It's not about the next person, what he's doing, what he has achieved. And I say this in my book, we're all different. I travel a lot and I've never seen somebody who looks like me.
Yeah.
There are billions of people in the world, but there's only one Humaira in the world with the capability. Whatever I have been gifted, I'm going to die with it. Nobody, not even my children, can inherit it. It's me. So if I die tomorrow and I haven't used that talent that God gave me, it means that it's gone. It's wasted. So I always look for that, what's inside of me that I can do that's different from other people.
Wow. What strikes me about you is, and you can maybe explain it, whether it comes from your background or your upbringing, which become more apparent to me now, is you lead with humility. How has your earlier childhood and the experiences that you mentioned shaped you to lead with humility?
Yes, I think it comes from my other best part of the world, which is my grandfather who was a pastor.
Okay.
I'll just give you one example. every evening we ate from one big dish.
Mm.
Okay. And any child who didn't have food from his or her home came to eat with us. The food was the same, same amount of food. So it only depended on how quickly you can eat. So if you were slow, you can have one bite, the food is finished.
Yeah.
So we grew up knowing that we share. It doesn't matter how much you have, and that you humbled yourself. When at some stage my father's shop burnt to ashes, not even a Chappies could survive.
Sure.
And by 9 o'clock, there was a long queue of people coming to donate because they said, this is our shop.
Wow.
We want it rebuilt. It had no insurance. And I was very young, and my father said to me, do you see when you invest in people's hearts, what happens? I don't need any insurance. So you must always bear that in mind.
Wow.
When I was at Harvard University, I asked one professor, I'm like, I look at all these buildings, there are written names of people, they are named after people. Who are these people? He said, I don't even know any one of them, just people who had money. And they could, when they were about to die, they decided, you know what, let me donate this so that my name stays somewhere. But it meant, the name means nothing because we don't know the person. And he said, my 5-year-old will tell you who Mandela is, because he invested in people. You invest in the hearts of people, not just in wealth. And I'm not saying you don't need wealth, but invest in the hearts and minds of people. And that, to me, is very inspiring.
You know, I also grew up in a township, and how things ran when we were growing up, and sort of the structures and the respect for leadership and authority, for me, has changed over the years. Do you think that's something that we're missing, the connection in communities in South Africa? Do you think that's something that we're missing, and why do you think it's missing?
I think leadership, and I've been a leader in executive positions for at least more than 30 years. I'm selling my age now. I think it's something that you get through how you treat people, what you do for people. You earn the status in the community. It's not something that you get by position. And I think these days, many people use positional power rather than what they do for people, service to people,
Yes.
to try and get, elevate themselves. It's not how it works. They lose respect. If you're a leader and you're unethical, or your behavior is such that people can't respect you, unfortunately, you can't clean that with your status. So how you carry yourself is very important. And it's actually sad to me, because when you're a leader, you're an example for many young people, and we set the wrong tone for those kids because they think it's just money that's important. It's the status, who you are, not what you are. There's a big difference, because who you are in terms of status and what you have become, what you are. We see the total person in you. You can't be this leader, but tomorrow you are drunk in the street, or you're having so many affairs, and we see all negative news about you. You must be a wholesome person. So I think that's where we're missing it.
Understood. You've had a very interesting career. You've worked in leadership positions in many state-owned entities, Transnet to name one, and now you're the CEO of PBF, the Progressive Business Forum. What would you say are the main differences in operating within the public sector and then also the private sector?
Yeah, I've always been in parastatals, which are public sectors. So I haven't really worked much in the private sector. But where I have worked, we've operated maybe the best that you can get from the private sector, applying it in the government sector. And this is because wherever I worked, we were advancing the transformational agenda. When I worked for ESCOM, and you know I'm an organizational development specialist, I was responsible for organizational culture, looking at the values. And for PRASA, for example, it was just after they broke off from Transnet. So there again, we were looking at the brand of the organization, establishing it. Now, to answer your question, and I can go on and on, post office, Transnet, all of them modernizing. SARS, I was in the committee, modernizing all these organizations to be world-class. And you know, during our time, ESCOM was one of the top 5 utilities in the world, the cheapest electricity producing in the world. It was SARS also, you know, my engagement with them was very fruitful in the sense that I think it was a top utility. You know, it's very interesting. Chinese used to come to ESCOM many times to come and learn from us.
Wow.
Today, they are so advanced than us, you know. But the difference between these two is that, firstly, decision making, if it's quick enough, the bureaucracy is killing the government sectors, because you have so much bureaucracy, which is important for the public sector because you must adhere to PFMA, to all the regulations. But when you have structures where the bureaucracy just kills even the information from top down, the approval process takes 6 months. There are so many things in the public sector that has become so cumbersome to make any decisions to implement. I hear some of the countries that have signed the bilateral agreements with us. You know, we're very busy during BRICS.
Yes.
Say we've been signing these things, we signed so many years. Can we come to a stage where we implement? We have written very good policies. When are we implementing? We've mobilized for investments. When are we implementing all these things? And it's because of the bureaucracy. Also, empowerment of your staff. You know, I've just talked about the status now. You know, in the public sector, the authority is on top. Whereas in the private sector, even the lowest person can make quick decisions. When I worked for ESCOM, one of the decisions we made very early was that the operators are very important. Give that person a delegation of authority for over R1 million. He's the lowest in terms of the hierarchy, but the decisions he has to make and the speed at which he has to make those decisions are very key to the success of the company. We can go, you've seen the load shedding issues.
Yes.
To me personally, it's when you take that empowerment away from people who have to make the decisions quickly. When that person still has to call somebody who's sleeping at home, the lights goes off. The lights go off. So decision making, empowerment, and also recognition of the jobs. You know, one of the decisions when I was in the SARS HR committee that we looked at was, when you look at the remuneration, you don't necessarily have to have the commissioner earning the highest salary. It's a person who brings the most income, who brings the most rare skill, like in your international SARS person, where you need to deal with international tax.
Yes.
Very complicated. It's billions of rands. You need to go and get that person from England or from America who understand international revenue and taxes, and that costs a lot of money. So you should be able to do it. So don't set your remuneration structures according to status, but according to the importance of the skill that you require, so that you are able to get the necessary skill. Yeah.
So an outward-driven focus, an output-driven focus
Outputs, yeah.
regarding remuneration. Do you think, like, you know, in the market, there's a huge sentiment that government is not doing enough to support our entrepreneurial ecosystem? But when you look at it, there are several structures that are in place, that have been in place for a while. Do you think that it's because of the bureaucracy, a lack of capability and understanding the true requirements of SMMEs? What's your view on government's role within the ecosystem of entrepreneurs?
Yeah, from the PBF point of view, we have a lot of small businesses.
Yes.
That we're trying to support. And the Minister of Small Businesses has been invited. He's talked about the opportunities so many times on our platforms. He's one of our biggest supporters. The problem that we find, again, it goes to implementation. Implementation, implementation, implementation. You talked about the bureaucracy. It's so difficult for them to penetrate funding, for example. Funding is there, but the requirements, the criteria, the process. If I'm a small business and I'm not a businessman and I'm not educated, and I have to go through so many documents, now it means I must hire an expert to do those things for me. Tax returns, you need an expert to master this thing, you know. So it's not so easy for small businesses. And I know they have reviewed the tax processes and applications so many times to make it easier. But I can tell you, for an ordinary businessman that I'm dealing with, it's not easy. So that is why we're trying to set up something to assist them as well. I think we need to work on infrastructure. Companies that we took with, one of them got a Fortune 500 company to partner with them. We just need to say, how do we interpret these policies, make them easier to implement, and implement those inclusive economic development and beneficiation.